Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stassi. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited. I have Iron Seagull here today. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome, fellow Canadian. I love interviewing Canadians because we're so nerdy, especially when it comes to like talking about like weather. Like that's my
Yeah.
favorite thing to talk about with anybody. As we were just talking about vest weather before starting this podcast.
Yeah, because I have like two in my closet that I haven't worn in quite a while. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess now I can start wearing them again.
That's the beauty of Canadian falls. It's either 20 Celsius, and if you're American, I don't know what 20 Celsius and
I don't remember.
like 80 or 90 Fahrenheit,
Something like that. Yeah.
something. And you're just like, or it's like four. I actually saw a report today on the Weather Network, which is blessed. That's how I'm old now. I like to like the Weather Network is my most used app next to Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Mine's probably up there. I don't think it's like the top. No, Twitter is probably still the top for me, but yeah.
I gotta know the weather, but I
Yeah.
saw an article today that it's going to snow in our province this weekend.
This weekend?
Not
What?
it's yeah, in the northern parts of
Okay.
it's going to snow. They are
Wow.
expecting their first snowfall, and I'm like, no.
I heard something like a week ago that okay, certain parts of Canada could get their first snow shockingly early, but I didn't think that included Ontario.
That definitely includes Ontario. Well, you know what? We'll continue talking about the weather, but before we do, welcome to this podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your Sims history?
Yes, so I go by Iron Seagull, of course. My name is Julian, and I've been playing The Sims since I was 11 years old. I was introduced through it through an old family friend of mine. I still remember like she was showing me this in like her basement, the Sims house party loading screen. So the Sims was already out for about a year at that point, and I was like, wow, this is kind of fascinating. And then it's just like nothing like the Sims really existed at the time. So I think even on like Game Facts, it was classified as an RPG back then. So I was like, okay, interesting. You're like grinding skills and jobs, I guess. But then I remember it was specifically the mechanical bull from House Party that made me realize what The Sims truly was, because it was like, okay, it's not just level grinding like say Pokemon, it's also about having fun, like that side of life too. So yeah, that was from there. Then I eventually like got the game myself pretty soon. It was right before like Hot Date came out, that we could leave the house. Our Sims could leave the house for the first time. No way. And that's just like so standard nowadays. So yeah, and then I've been addicted to The Sims ever since. It's been like such a journey. And then I started like technically my YouTube channel was around since like 2009, but I was just like uploading random goofy clips and whatnot. It was the summer of 2013 when I started doing like let's plays and more
Mhm.
like serious content and such. And then a few years later, I got reached out to by it was Simguru Drake at the time, the community manager for The Sims, and then she offered me early access to the kids room stuff pack. I was That was like the first Sims 4 stuff pack I was excited for, but then that was like that made my excitement skyrocket even more because I was like, oh my gosh, like I never thought that would happen to little old me. Especially because I'm so critical of the game too. I just did not think that would happen back then. And like, yeah, that was amazing. And getting to even meet the developers at Sims Camp, because that used to be an event before the pandemic happened. I really hope they do that again, because even like seeing some of my friends who got to go to like the later ones and seeing their faces like with joy me going into like EAHQ, meeting the Sim Gurus, playing whatever expansion pack was coming out soon. And I remember like particularly the one for Get Famous. We were flown out to London. We had a ball pit because you know the ball pit's like a meme because of how bad it was when it first came with the toddler stuff back.
Yeah.
And I did like a vlog. I still have those vlogs on my YouTube channel of like every time I went. And there was one point where I was talking to Sim Guru Graham in the ball pit, and it was like, yeah, my life has led up to this very moment. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. Like the people I've met just through this whole content creation avenue, and I'm still here doing this over a decade later, and no plans on stopping anytime soon. And yeah, like The Sims has gone some really interesting places for sure.
It definitely has, and it's definitely really evolved in the last 10 years. Now, I have to ask, with obviously the big announcement last week of a lot of different projects, what were your thoughts of them saying, you know what, we're not doing Sims 5. We're going to continue making Sims 4 content. I'm very curious.
Oh man, I was so disappointed because a lot of people are trying to tell me like Project Renee is not The Sims 5, but I'm like, when Singer Lindsay first said on that behind the Sims summit that it's the next generation of The Sims, when people say it's the next generation, that typically means the next game. And I guess it still is in a way. It's just not like The Sims 5. It's almost like say comparing like The Sims busting out to like The Sims 1 at the time. So like I mean, I do like The Sims 4. I think that's often a misconception. As much as I criticize the game, I actually still really like it. It's still one of my favorite Sims games. I mean, I still love especially like the first two,
Hmm.
but yeah, I feel like there's only so much you can do. I often compare the Sims base games to video game consoles because even though it's like a hardware versus software difference, they both have like the same thing of like offering a diverse range of content, but the thing is, eventually you kind of reach a limit to where it's like you can't really do much anymore. You have to start over eventually. So you
Hmm.
have a new base that surpasses what your previous one did. Because like if we stayed at The Sims 1 forever, like there's so many things The Sims couldn't have done. And I still feel like there's things they could do with The Sims 5. Part of it is kind of like getting back to what we had with The Sims 2 and The Sims 3, like having a more open world or at least open neighborhoods, but and also like having the color wheel and that stuff that is actually going to be in Project Renee. That was like another thing that kind of led me to believe it's the like yeah the Sims 5. But even like other things like for example on some of the console games for the Sims in Create a Sim you could actually layer clothing, so you wouldn't just choose a top, you would choose a jacket, an
Hmm.
undershirt, and like a middle layer as well if I remember correctly. So having something like that I don't think they could really do in The Sims 4. And also I would love, like, this is a very ambitious idea, but I would love to see the whole concept of lots kind of reinvented, because you know it's like you open a pre-existing plot and it's like okay I gotta keep it within this size. What if
Hmm.
you didn't have to think about that anymore? What if you could just like you can see it, you can build there. It doesn't matter how big it is. Like you could have like a lot stretching across like half the neighborhood if you want to. And like you could still click and drag to designate something as a lot. So you could like upload it to the gallery. So it's more like readable, I guess you could say. But to have more freedom in that way, that's something I don't think The Sims 4 could do. So there's things like that where I'm just like, yeah, it'd be really cool to still see one more Sims game at least, because The Sims 4 was supposed to be like this online multiplayer game, and then they rushed the game out because they took it out because of all the SimCity controversy. So it feels really weird that this is the hill that they're kind of dying on. That it's like this is the one, despite how bad it was received at launch and all this other stuff. We're sticking with this one for the foreseeable future. This, I feel like if they were to do like another thing with all the things I said, then this would be like a more reliable thing to keep going for like a decade plus. So they said they were disrupting the sequel model. So it sounds like it's not completely off the table. It's just for like a good long time, it won't happen. We're just going to have The Sims 4 and like the project stories and Project Renee and like some maybe other spin-off things. Like, yeah, they're bringing back My Sims, and it seems like that's going to be a pillar of their brand now, which is really cool. So maybe they'll
Hmm.
do a new My Sims. But yeah, I really feel like The Sims 4 should not be the last one. They really should do at least one more. And
So
even like Paralives and Inzoi kind of prove that too. Like they're doing all these cool things as well.
I agree. There's some parts of that, yes, I could not agree more. There's other parts where I'm like, there was no way that I was getting Sims 5 anytime soon. Even if it came out
Yeah.
tomorrow and it said, you know what, here's Sims 5. I'm kind of with them. I've spent a lot of money on The Sims 4, and I'm not prepared to spend another, as you're Canadian,
Yeah.
to buy a new expansion pack, 60 Canadian. 70, it's literally like 72
Yeah,
Canadian for an expansion pack. I don't want to spend another $72 for it to rain. I don't want to spend another
yeah,
$72 to have a dog. So
yeah,
I'm not ready. Not only that, I my game play when I do play is very at the time that I played it was very CC heavy, very mod heavy.
yeah,
That's not going to be ready. Why would I want to restart again? And I understand that that's what some players were really looking forward to. I don't like for myself personally, a multiplayer aspect of game is a really cool idea, and I hope that some people, when if it does come out, will enjoy it. I, on the other hand, will not partake in that feature for at least for the first little bit because to me, The Sims is my activity. This is my
yeah,
fun activity, and I'm trying to feel like, and I've talked about this before, logistically how could it be? I just imagine it being like an IMVU chat room. You portal yourself to another room that you decorate to have your Sims there. Could you imagine the logistics of having someone say on the PS5,
yeah,
Xbox 360, not an Xbox One, an Xbox 360, and mom answering email laptop, which I own. There's no way. There's no way that that could
yeah.
logistically work. So like I think they have time. But the one thing that
Well,
made me excited is that if they are going to have a Sims 5, they're not rushing it. They're gonna
yeah,
take their time.
yeah, they need to take their time. And I totally understand like the whole sentiment of like having to start over with like no pets and seasons and all that. And I say this as someone who has been playing pretty much since like the first one came out, just a year after. Like I'm definitely used to that process. It is painful, but it feels like a necessary pain. And the thing is, like, I mean, yeah, The Sims 4 unfortunately did leave a lot out, but I think there are things they could do more of this time where they do put in a bit more. Like I remember Singer Lindsay did say in like one of those other broadcasts that they were saying like, oh, I think it was even, yeah, it was about Project Renee where they were like, we'll have, probably they didn't say for sure, that we could have some basic weather in the base game, but then have a pack that adds more winter activities and that sort of stuff. That
Mhm.
makes sense. Like, yeah, we should absolutely have rain and cloudy weather in the base game, but yeah, if it's too much work to include snow in the base game, yeah, I can kind of get that. There's like a whole thing with that. And then they couldn't even do deep snow except for like snowy escape, but it's just like objects in certain spots all the time. It's not like true deep snow. So yeah, it's definitely like it's not cheap, but sometimes it has to be done. Yeah, it's just like what I said about the console analogy. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, eventually, like, yeah, you have to start over and then get these games again. It's like, oh, we need a new Mario game. We need a new Mario Party F-Zero. I really want a new F-Zero still. And like Splatoon and Animal Crossing and all those games. So yeah, I do hope that if whenever they do a Sims 5, if it happens, yeah, they take their time and they need to make money for sure. But I mean, they're kind of proving now, like they've put out so many expansion packs for the Sims 4. It's another thing where I often compare it to The Simpsons, especially since it's like based off of real life. The sky is pretty much the limit. There's so many sorts of ideas they can do, and there's that survey that I mentioned to you where they have like ideas for like criminal life, underwater scuba diving adventures, modern monarchy, going back to the 80s and 90s. Like, there's just so many things. So it's like, yeah, even if they don't have as many of the obvious ideas, there's so many things they can do.
Yeah, you're right. Like it's literally like it's endless. You could literally create anything in The Sims. But the thing that kind of like threw me when I heard the announcement is we got snapshots of what they were working on with a color wheel. I remember what
Yeah.
the creepy Sims looked like because they looked petrifying at best.
Yeah, it was just like some Blender model or something. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I realize it's just that, but it's like, oh boy.
Right? I'm like, so like I guess we'll never actually know the real reason why they pulled their plug, but whatever it is, like what Project Renee is gonna be, it kind of sounds like a Sims 4.5. If I'm gonna be honest with you.
I feel like, yeah, especially considering those things like the color wheel and other things, like I think they're going to probably make the graphics a bit more advanced too. And it's funny, like with the multiplayer thing, I was very much against that as the idea of just when I was thinking that it was going to be The Sims 5 because it felt like the wrong focus for a
Mhm.
mainline Sims game.
Yes.
But now that it is confirmed to be like a separate project, I'm like, okay, I'm still not as into the idea for now, but I'm a bit more open to it now that I know it's not like wasting budget that could go into other things, you know? I
Mhm.
don't want it to be a repeat of The Sims 4 where it's like, oh no, we gotta backtrack again and axe all this stuff and then another rush thing. I don't want that.
I could not agree more. Again, don't rush it. Like the EA community, like let's be honest, who plays The Sims hardcore or people that have been playing it their entire lives? I've been playing this game now for 21 years. That makes me feel
Yeah,
really old. Like really, really, really old. Because in my mind, I'm still 25, so that's not humanly possible. I'm not.
yeah.
I'm 31. But that being said, I'm a collector. I will play every pack. Not only that, so many people have played The Sims in their life, right? So you have to dedicate some stuff to the lifetime players that are going to continue to buy your packs, are going to continue to play their game. Now EA is starting to have competition out there. They haven't had
Yeah.
any competition, let's be honest, in the last 20 years. They haven't really had anything. You're now seeing these games. Obviously, one of the game companies folded. I can't remember if it was Life by
Oh,
You.
yep. Life
Yeah,
by
Life by
You.
You folded.
Paradox. Yeah.
Paradox. Yeah, so that's interesting, but we still have Paralife that's coming out, and
Paralyzed. Oh yeah.
I can't think of the other game that had just released the cast.
That's
Uh,
in Zoe.
in Zoe, yeah,
Yeah.
and then for any obviously Tiny Glades for anybody who's building. So like they're starting to get some competition. I'm really curious to
Yeah.
see how they're going to react to that. And
Yeah.
I
I'm
think that's why they pulled away from Sims 5 to focus on Sims 4 because I think in their minds they think that's what the community wants versus another game.
That's an interesting perspective. I almost feel the opposite, where it's like, I thought they were going to feel like because of competition, it's like, okay, look at all this really cool stuff Paralives is doing with their build mode. We gotta like really make sure that the Sims 5 is good and that it can compete with that. But then it's like, oh, they're still working with this kind of shaky foundation of the Sims 4. I mean, at least they are fixing more bugs now. I actually really gave like a positive review on the newest patch, which is not something I usually do. I'm so glad I can finally talk about something more positive.
Well,
But yeah,
isn't it now true that like My Wedding Stories actually works?
that I don't know for sure. I saw like a Sims community thing where like their person who did that, they had a much better experience, but then I saw like one reply that said no, their experience was still pretty bad.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I haven't had time to play with My Wedding Stories recently, but I did take a look at some things like the shadows. Like I know a lot of people didn't notice it, but like when you play on high settings, what used to happen is that the shadows would kind of jump cut every few seconds and be like eh, 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 every 5 seconds, and then on low settings, they would still, even though they didn't look as good, they'd still realistically move across the ground as you would normally expect. So they fixed that finally, thank goodness. Just like a month after I got my new computer that can run the game a lot better. And my game also loads about 3 to 5 seconds faster, which is really nice. So my game was already running pretty smooth, but now I'm glad I can like load into stuff faster. And they fixed the photos turning black on DirectX 11. And now, like, there were some items with Love Struck that you could not find very easily because they weren't tagged properly. So
Hmm.
they fixed that. And there's like a whole bunch of other things. They still need to fix gardening. But yeah, that does give me some hope. It's given me some hope that, okay, maybe they are serious now, like with this new team that they've hired to like to focus more on bug fixes.
I agree. I like the thing is we pay a lot of money for these packs, and you have this expectation and the hope that they'll work. And obviously, software is software, and not everything's gonna work right away. But like the patches, there are just some patches out there that you're just like, didn't know that existed. I'm so sorry to the person that's playing this game that is experiencing that. But you're right. We are seeing because I feel like a couple years ago the QC wasn't as good as it is now. They weren't putting out as many patches, especially patches that really do
Yeah.
fix the game.
Yeah, part of it does feel like damage control because now it's like every pack there's like some kind of game breaking things, some really bad save corruption or things like that. So it does make me wish they had this from the beginning. Otherwise, maybe it wouldn't have ever gotten to this point, because just seeing like how good of a job they're already doing, I feel like their first really major test is going to be with this life and death pack with the update that comes out right before that, because it's like they just started this stuff in May with having this dedicated team. So it's like, okay, Lovestruck came out quite soon after that. So I'm like, okay, I feel like the next expansion pack after that is going to be really seeing like, okay, what's the difference with a new pack release and not just the like things, the patches in between. Yeah.
I got you. And I mean, since you brought up Life and Death, which is crazy, we're having two expansion packs in 1 year. To me, feels like a lot of content pushing out. This obviously podcast is being filmed before we've even seen the trailer. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts so far of what Life and Death is going to be about?
So the rumors initially were that it was just going to be about death. And I was like, okay, this already sounds worse than Love Struck, because I'm very nice to my Sims and I play with aging off. So my Sims rarely die. So
Mhm.
it already sounded like this pack was not going to appeal to me at all. And it sounded very niche for what they've said before. Like expansion packs are supposed to be the broadest out of all of them, whereas things like hits and stuff packs are more niche. So I'm
Mhm.
like, okay. But now that we know that the title is life and death, that sounds more interesting to me, and not just, oh, new ways to die in funerals. So it sounds a lot more like original of a theme. So now I'm more intrigued. Like, there's just two things that I feel like are pretty much guarantees: funeral homes and funeral events. But I think, like, I don't know. I don't know what else it could be. It could be like with the nursery kit, maybe they're going to add more things for like infants, even though that was like a growing together thing. But it's like, oh, the beginning of life too, maybe, and things in general. Maybe they'll have like, because they have like the heirloom box with growing together, but maybe like an inheritance feature that could be an interesting thing to add, like to like the life aspect.
Mhm.
But other than that, I actually, as much as I like cover leaks and stuff, I would be totally cool with this one not leaking, even though it leaks every time now. I would love for this one to actually be a surprise.
Yo, Ian needs to hire a plumber. There's so many leaks. There's always a leak.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking about this expansion pack. I think it's going to be Mexican Day of the Dead theme, hence it coming out on Halloween.
Right.
I also think that they're going to focus on the like the aspect of life and maybe giving us a new way to birth. So it's not just like a scary death
Oh.
machine.
Oh.
Um, I
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Right. I also think like maybe if we're gonna so focus on death, I do hope we get to see the other side of an angel. I also do hope if well, we obviously know that there's gonna be funerals, but I do hope that they show other forms of mourning services in other cultures. And I hope they do shine a
Yeah.
light on that. Um, to be honest with you, I don't really know too much about like nobody knows
Yeah.
too much. I feel like this is like Taylor Swift announcing like a new album, but keeping it so fucking close to her chest. Like, I don't know. Like I don't know. And I've talked about this a lot on all of these podcasts that I filmed because obviously all of so far of season three has been filmed before this pot like before we've seen the trailer, so it's all just kind of speculation.
Yeah.
I just hope it's something like really original because in my
Yeah.
I've not come across any of these like normally every expansion pack is a carbon copy of another expansion pack that has come out, but I can't think of another
Yeah.
expansion pack that's life and death. Is there?
I No, not
No.
really, because like, yeah, I was gonna say like with packs like university
Hmm.
seasons, you pretty much know what you're gonna get, not just because the title is obvious, but also like there's a precedent. It's more just like the nuances that are things that are different, like how seasons focus more on holidays and the multicultural aspect of that. But yeah, like the closest thing I can think of is like in the Sims 3 store, there was this venue called the Grimm's Manor where
Yeah.
you could actually like visit his mansion if you like place it in your world, and you could like have an I think you could have like an electric guitar duel with him. It was really funny. And I forgot to bring it up earlier. One thing that could be in this pack is that I don't know if you remember with there was like those two community stuff pack votes,
Hmm.
and the second one it ended up with Nifty Knitting winning. But
Okay.
one of the ideas was that oh, I forget like the general theme idea of it, but one of the features was that you could be a reaper. You would have Grim Reaper as your boss, and you would reap souls yourself, and it would be a freelance career. And there's been so many of those community stuff fact vote ideas, even the ones that did not win, that have come true, like paranormal stuff. That was another thing under that theme,
Hmm.
and it came true, like the seance table. So I think there's a good chance that could happen. Even like, yeah, the first one, the first community stuff fact vote with like the off the grid theme one, but then it was laundry. But then we still got off the grid stuff anyways. We got that lot trait like just before I am living in the free update, and eco lifestyle like a year or so later.
Hmm.
So that would be very interesting because it's been a while since we've got any like occult stuff, and I like playing a lot of both realistic and occult things. And I know a lot of people want fairies, but I would prefer first to see something that is not a rehash, because every occult we have in The Sims 4 is a rehash of something, but we have never been able to play as the Reaper. And I think that'd be so cool because I always think of that one episode. Have you ever watched Supernatural?
No, I have not. I'm not a big Supernatural girl, but I obviously I know the show.
Yeah, because I haven't watched that much of the show, but there was one episode where Dean he actually became Death for a day. He took over Death's job, and I thought that was such a fascinating episode. I'm like, that'd be so cool if we got that in The Sims one day. And then I saw that idea. I was like, oh yeah, man, if I wasn't so like into the idea of getting knitting, I would have voted for that instead.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just imagining that. And then as soon as you said that, like, have you seen Sandman?
Um, Wait, Sandman as
Like the
in like
Netflix. It's like obviously a graphic novel, but there's a Netflix show called
oh,
Sandman.
okay. This is superhero geek in me. I thought you were talking about like Marvel Sandman, like from Spider-Man. I was like, are you mean that or something else?
No. I do appreciate that. So there is an episode. I'm not even gonna put a spoiler alert up. If you haven't watched the show, it came out like 2 years ago. That's on you. Um,
Okay. Yeah, it sounded kind of familiar, but I wasn't sure exactly.
so
Yeah.
there's like so he has brothers and sisters, and one of them is Death, and you kind of go on you join her on this episode for maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, and you watch her go from death to death to death. I'm really curious to see if that is something that they would put in The Sims. And imagine you're just like, oh yeah, Vlad died because your Sim left him out in the sun too long. You carry around and you go death. But I think that would be interesting. I think that would be a very
Yeah.
something unique. I want something new unique at this point.
Yeah, there is just like one thing I absolutely need alongside that though, because like I said, like I'm very nice to my Sims. I don't like having my Sims die. So I need there to be some sort of opt-in thing where you can have it so that you're like kind of like with neighborhood stories where you choose like leave Sims out of all those things and randomly dying and all that. Yeah, I don't want to rape my own playable Sims. I don't care if it's just like randomly generated townies I've never seen before. But yeah, I'd like the option to leave my own playable Sims that I've spent so many years making out of it.
Oh, I could not agree more. I turned off death after my main character, Alexa, died like 4 times when I was like doing like a story of her.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I'm like, she died of embarrassment and heat stroke in the same afternoon after restarting my computer. I'm like, this sim wants to die. So after that, I was like,
Yeah.
turning off death, please. But no, I am very curious. I'm just excited to, again, something original. I don't personally think we need two expansion packs in 1 year, but if that's what EA wants to put out, I just hope it's good. That's my only criticism. I hope it is good.
Yeah. I feel like now that we have most of the expected packs, like seasons in university and pets and all that stuff, Yeah, I guess I don't need two expansion packs a year as much as I would have, say, like back in 2015 or 16.
Hmm.
And also, like, yeah, they definitely need to polish up the packs more before they release them. I'm not shocked that it's two expansions a year because it's like different. It's not consistent. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two. But I felt like since The Sims 4 turned 10 this year, I was thinking, oh yeah, they're gonna do two expansion packs. Where are the game packs though? I don't know.
Right? You know what? Give me a stuff pack. Give me a really
Yeah.
pretty stuff pack. Give me a game pack. Because game packs have been coming with worlds lately, which seems
Yeah.
it seems
They
cheap,
do sometimes, yeah.
right? You're like, I spend $30, I get a world. I spend $70, I get a world. I'd rather buy two game packs and get two worlds for the same price as one EP.
Yeah, it just kind of depends. Like with the game pack worlds, they tend to be smaller than the ones we get in expansions. But Strangerville was actually a pretty decent
Oh,
size because that the world was the pack. So there is kind of like that, but yeah, it is funny you say that because sometimes I do feel like certain game packs I get more out of than a full expansion pack. Like Werewolves was the last one, and I love that. I think I would say that is my favorite game pack. And the high school years came out like a month later. They rushed that one out, and then yeah, I think Werewolves is a lot better than high school years.
could not agree more. The
Yeah,
mountain is phenomenal. Anytime I had
yeah,
to do anything spooky in Rose Chronicles, I like used that mountain. I literally, because like there was a part where they're like in a cave, I
yeah.
like recreated it as a set because I was like, they're in this cave, but here's the set of this cave. It was just, I got so good. You know, I did like high school years, so I liked the build buy in high
Oh,
school years. Then I did like the gameplay. Well, for many
yeah.
years, I just did CC storytelling. So I didn't really give a shit about gameplay.
That
And
is funny. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that too because I think most people who have told me that they like high school years it has nothing to do with the gameplay. It's always because of build and buy and cast. And actually, yeah, I will say those are really good. Yeah,
yes,
especially as a cast person, I think they did a pretty good job on that stuff. Yeah.
I agree. Now, I think, and this is a huge builders get a hard time using CC because you're not a true builder because you shouldn't need CC to be a good builder. However, it is not argued at all. To be a cast person, you must use CC because if you don't, your Sims look interesting. What are your thoughts on that debate?
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. I was not expecting that to be brought up, but that's a really interesting topic because
Hmm.
yeah, that's absolutely something I've noticed as a long time sir. And I this is purely speculation. I don't know if I'm even onto anything here, but I think it's because, at least from my perspective, more people download builds than Sims.
Hmm.
And then with the gallery by default, it does not include builds with custom content. And also, when there are builds with custom content, it's kind of a bit troublesome because there's so much custom content out there that it can be a pain to like have it all. And then it's just like to have so much CC just for one specific build, it doesn't feel worth it.
Hmm.
And then with yeah, since not as many people download Sims, in my estimation, maybe that's why where people expect people to use custom content. And I also feel like maybe the difference between Maxis quality and custom content quality between Sims and builds is also bigger, where it's like, yeah, a lot of Maxis objects look really good. There are some that look pretty bad up close, like that bathroom kit. What the heck were they doing with that? I was so disappointed with that. But then, yeah, then there's some where it's like, okay, like with like Sixm's recent kit with the nursery, like, yeah, Sixm does really good work with
Hmm.
his custom content. But then I feel like it is a more drastic difference between vanilla Sims and custom content Sims, especially with Alpha versus Maxis match. There is that with build too, but I feel like there isn't as much of it. But then it's like, yeah, I remember I like clung to the default Maxis skin tones for so long, but then around the time Growing Together came out, I think is when I got like the Myrika skin by Nasuri, and I was like, wow, this looks so much better
Right?
than before. My Sims looked almost like drastically different and younger too. I was like, whoa. And also a lot of custom content clothing. They are willing to go higher poly and have more details. Like things like belts or zippers and things like that on. It's funny, so it's not consistent with Max. Sometimes it looks very blurry and flat, and sometimes it looks great. But then with a lot of custom content, it can be a lot higher quality overall. And that, and also like default eye replacements and that stuff, that tends to look a lot better than Max's stuff. So I think that's my theory on that sort of stuff with expecting to use custom content or not when it comes to builds and Sims.
I I like where you stand. I stand the same way. Like I like adding things to my builds that are not in the game currently. Like have open doors,
Oh,
throw
yeah.
pillows until we had that kit,
Oh yeah,
blankets,
Zarelia's kit. Yeah, the Modern
right?
Lux one with the pillow.
So, but there are stuff that in my opinion, my game is lacking that I can just go support an amazing content creator out there that has made this for me. Now, I gotta get better with CAS without using CC because I'm about to delete all of my CC off my computer so I
Oh
can.
no.
I have like 80 gigs.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
And
It's
this
fun.
computer is only
Yeah.
200 gigs. Okay. So like I gotta let this baby breathe.
I just
So
hit like 11 gigabytes a month or so ago.
I just have a lot because being a storyteller, so something that's really important is poses.
Oh
They
yeah.
poses are second to none, for any storyteller. I have like 1,000 poses because I would
Yeah.
literally just download a pose, put it into the story because I saw the pose and liked it.
Right.
So but there was just some aspects of cast that I'm like, I miss C like I need to have CC. I just partaked in a cast challenge called So You Think You Can Cast, which I'm very excited to
Oh,
be part of the Halloween special, which has not happened yet since this is being filmed, but very excited to be part of it. But it was so difficult because I was like, I like the CC eyes because they add depth. Like,
oh yeah.
you can have blue eyes, but not every eye is like ocean blue. There's different shades of blue. There's different shades of green. There's different shades of browns. And all the other colors, and I understand there's some there, but the depth into the eyes,
Yeah,
I
and
have
heterochromia as well. We still don't have that in the game officially.
exactly. So
Yeah, I really want that.
there's just some aspects that I feel like are missing still, and I would like I CC fills that into me, but come in like a week, I'm a vanilla player with no CCs. So I'm very curious to see if my opinion will change on that. We shall see. But I do think that is an argument that we have. Now, I have to ask you this. Are you a builder or are you Cass?
Oh, I lean pretty hard into cast and just storytelling as well. It's kind of like a running joke on my channel where I don't build except for like how many builds have I done? Like I've for some of my earlier subscriber YouTube milestones, I've done builds, but
Mhm.
I think the last one I did was for Tiny Living because like the whole point of that pretty much is like build stuff. So I did kind of like one small like build there. But yeah, I part of me is kind of intimidated by build, but also it's the fact that it's like I already spend so much time making my Sims, thinking up their stories, what are their skills going to be and their careers and all that, how they link to maybe some of my other Sims that I've already made because I kind of have like this whole almost like Marvel like universe going on by Let's Plays. By the time I get them moved into a house, I'm like, I don't want to build. I want to play. I just want to play live mode. So I mostly download from the very talented creators on the gallery. So they
That
often get a spotlight from me there.
that's very fair. No, I'm more builders. All I want to do is build. I don't want to like if I have to press play, I'm like, what do I do? Do they need to
Oh,
eat? I think they need to eat. Okay, go eat a grilled cheese and burn the house down that I just spent 17 hours building. It's fine. It's fine, but I turned off death
yeah.
so you won't die. But no, I totally get you. Now, I do want to talk about your Let's Plays. You've been doing these for a long time. Talk to me what inspired you to create your first Let's Play and where is it today?
So I did watch other Let's Players like Queen, Anju Arcade, like Raichi Bop, X Sims X, and I took like a more calculated approach to it. I didn't want to just like start right away with really bad quality stuff, and Yeah, because I the mic I use that a lot of YouTubers I think started out with around my time, especially, is the blue snowball mic. So I waited until I could get like that and some other stuff set up before I got going. And I was just thinking about like how I want to bring my own spin to it. What have people like not done yet? And it was more so, I guess, around Sims 4 that I managed to fully flesh out that idea of doing something kind of inspired by like the Marvel Cinematic Universe of not just having every series live on its own, but actually have some connective tissue between some or even all of them. So my very first Let's Play was actually with the Sims 3 Dragon Valley world of all things. It was quite an interesting time because like we got that, and then like a few weeks later we got Island Paradise.
Hmm.
So my Dragon Valley Let's Play is called Let's Play Sims 3 Dragon Valley Rivals. So I had sort of like there was still a bit of like shades of gray, but I had like the hero character Ladford, who's like the OG of my Let's Plays, and then Alice, who's like a witch, like the evil witch. And they were both in Dragon Valley, and Ladford was actually from the future, and he's like part of this organization that's that kind of like almost like Legends of Tomorrow, actually, like DC's Legends of Tomorrow, where they kind of like try to stop all these bad things from happening across the timeline. And so he went back to Dragon Valley to stop her because she was apparently destined to kind of stage this dragon takeover because like the premium item of Dragon Valley were these hatchable dragons that you could get. And the thing is, like, they always stay as like these really young dragons, but my fiction was that yeah, eventually they still grow really big. So Alice was secretly having so many of these dragon eggs in her house. And then at the end of that series, Ladford, with a bit of help, kind of busted that and rescued the dragons and sent Alice into exile. So it went from there. And then I did like other expansion pack Let's Plays that kind of went with the theme. And then I did this sort of thing because I've actually brought back almost all of my Sims from my Sims 3 Let's Plays into the Sims 4 because one other bit of lore that I have is that like the Sims 1, the Sims 2, the Sims 3, the Sims 4, they're actually in chronological order. It's not like this reverse thing where the Sims 3 is first and then the Sims 1 and then the Sims 2. No, they actually are in order. So I had this thing where at the end of my last Sims 3 Let's Play, which is actually called the Sims 3 All Stars, where I had many of my previous Let's Play Sims all live in this big city. Oh, I forget what it was called. It was by RF Long 7, but it was this massive world that has like all the expansion packs and story content used. And basically it's like the apocalypse, like everything falls apart. And it was inspired by this Canadian show. Actually, I'm sure you would know it, Reboot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I,
sorry. Nobody's ever. I love that. That's like the most Canadian
yeah.
thing. It's the biggest Canadian flex. I love it. Sorry. Please,
Because I
please
don't know
continue.
how much
Sorry.
of it you've seen, but at the end of season 3, Mainframe kind of falls apart
Yeah.
and then it reboots into like it revitalizes. So that's kind of what happens. Like the world reboots itself into The Sims 4. And then I have like some of my Sims come back who remember everything that happened in The Sims 3. But then the new Sims in The Sims 4, they don't know anything from the previous games. So it was like the idea of like, oh, when we were about to get cats and dogs, my new Sims don't know what cats and dogs are. They only knew what it was because of like that Lost Dogs Journey Home movie and movie hangout stuff eventually. But it's just like, yeah, what's weather? What's pets? What's university? What's all that stuff? So, yeah, then because of The Sims 4 and how it works, where all of the worlds are in every save rather than just like one plus university and some vacation worlds, then
Hmm.
I was able to have like some Sims cross over. So, especially like some of my really long-standing Sims, like the ones that I had in my Discovery University Let's Play, Supernatural University. Um, I had Nolan, who is the vampire, and actually, yeah, both him and his younger sister Emmeline. And Nolan was actually born like a bit. He was in The Sims 3, and then he grew up into a teenager. And then there's like so much to explain. Sorry, but
No, it's okay.
um, yeah, he had a younger sister, Evelyn, who also grew up as a vampire. she grew up in my vampires Let's Play, and then she grew up to an adult in the university Let's Play. And then I have Breen, who is like my spellcaster. So they all like met and went to university together and lived in the same dorm. And then Nolan and Breen fell in love with each other during that time. So they actually have a child now named Magnus in my growing together Let's Play, which I call like Supernatural Generations. But I haven't got to my Let's Plays in quite a while, unfortunately, because I find that my my news videos tend to do a lot better than my Let's Plays. So it kind of hurts my channel if I do too much content that doesn't get much views. So I do want to get back to them soon, especially because now I have my new computer that can run the game better and my better equipment and everything. Um, but yeah, it's been really fun to do where some have connective tissue. I remember one really funny thing I did was between like my island living and get famous Let's Plays where one of my favorite sims I've ever created, Janessa. She is like, most of my sims are just so nice to each other and all that stuff, but Janessa is mean and she knows it. And she, in my Get Famous Let's Play, she's like such a diva. And then she, now I almost forget how she met Noel, who was from my Island Living Let's Play. She wanted him, but he was already in a relationship with Beth from the Island Living Let's Play as well. So I had just like this funny love triangle going on. And I remember at the end of one episode, I think she actually like started streaking and like jet skiing around Sulani just totally naked. It was like really just outlandish thing, just bizarre thing that I normally don't do on my Let's Plays. So it's kind of cool. And oh yeah, and also Strangeville. That was like another big one because that was kind of the formation of like my official like superhero team called the Syndicate, where they stopped the mother in that. So Nolan's dad, Sebastian, was actually a founding member of that, who's also a vampire. And then I have my green llama character, who I want to bring back into the limelight again, where there's like that costume from Spooky Stuff where there's like the llama costume is in City Living as well. But yeah, the Spooky Stuff had like a green one and it looks kind of like the Green Lantern. So I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. And I did like this sort of Arrow parody with the Green Llama because Arrow was one of my favorite shows when that was still on. So it was, yeah, the Green Llama, Sebastian, and Ladford as well. So they teamed up eventually to stop the mother, and that was so epic because like there's that whole. So I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but it is a quite old pack by now, I guess. But yeah, like that whole boss battle thing, that was really fun to play out. So it's really interesting to see if if the future packs kind of inspire any really interesting ideas with that.
Well, I hope they do because that is the most interesting Let's Play I have ever heard in my life. I like
Oh,
that.
thank you.
You're very welcome. You did touch upon something that I feel like a lot of creators may not struggle with, but just go through, as you said that like your Let's Plays don't get as much traction as your news videos, and that can be disheartening. I experience the same stuff on a day-to-day basis. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just kind of sucks a little bit if you're just like, I put so much work into this, and I put that much effort. That's why anytime I'm like, I see Let's Play, I'm like, this took hours, guys. Like this took hours to put together. I
Yeah.
will watch it through to beginning to end. But what advice could you give to any creators that, are maybe they're new out here and they just put 37 hours into a Let's Play and 10 people saw it and they post their next video if it's like a sim picking their nose and it gets a million views. So like
Yeah.
what advice could you give to them?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. I mean, I've totally had that sort of thing happen to me too, where it's just like, yeah, so even comparing Let's Plays to news videos, like the news videos honestly do take way less effort than constructing a universe of Let's Plays. So, um, and I would say it's definitely discouraging. I still face it on a daily basis too, where it's like, oh, I like recording this reaction to the Sonic movie, the third one that's about to come out, but then it got like only a few views and then I lost subscribers from it. Oh no, it sucks. But then there's so much ups and downs, especially like when a new pack's about to come out, then it goes up again and almost like kind of makes up for the losses of earlier. but definitely a lot of it is still like no matter what, just try and follow your passion because you can still be really surprised with what ends up doing well and what doesn't. Because one example I was actually thinking about bringing up was with Disney Dreamlight Valley.
Hmm.
That game was announced out of nowhere, and I was floored by it with that trailer. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to talk about this. This looks so good. And I also felt like it could have some appeal to simmers because it has a little bit of a life sim aspect to it. So
Hmm.
I uploaded that video expecting it to flop as much as like my Sonic content does. And I was just like, oh my gosh, whoa, there's actually a lot of people watching this. And that was in 2022. And the video that actually did the best on my channel that year was for the update. The first major update was when they were adding Scar from The Lion King to the game. That was like 45,000 views, and that did better than any of my Sims content. I was like, excuse me, what? Because even by that point, I was like doing content creation for about a decade. I was so used to the same sort of thing happening where,
Hmm.
like, yeah, my Sims content always does the best. But then that year, yeah, even though now my Dreamlight Valley content has gone down in views, for a while, it was doing better than my Sims content. I was like, even when you're doing it for so long, those surprises can still happen.
Oh, could not agree more. Surprises come out of nowhere. You'll think this video is gonna flop, and you're like, what? This is what picked up. But I think the thing
Yeah.
is like with Dreamlight is because most simmers, and I'm going to speak upon this upon the entire community. Most of us are Disney adults. Okay, so we
Yeah.
like Disney. I was so excited when like I literally like asked my husband, I'm like, please buy this game for me. It's Disney. It's Disney.
Yeah.
That's literally how it was pitched to me. It's Disney Sims,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they pitch it as an adventure life sim hybrid. I'd say more adventure, but yeah, there's
Yes.
still some of that life sim aspect to it.
And the big guys, like the big simmers, they were also plugging it. They were also playing it. So we were like, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this looks so good. Like I want to play this. So it's I like that, but like I do know your news videos take off. You are someone that I quite watch frequently when I want to watch news related
Oh,
stuff.
thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. I do appreciate that. How does it feel that you've been nominated, I believe, the last 2 years in a row at the Simmer Awards for Best News Content for The Sims?
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, that is interesting because like yeah, I love the fact that so many people actually do come to me for news because honestly, when I first started doing those, my expectation was that everyone had already seen like the Sims community articles or someone else's videos first before watching mine. But then people were telling me, no, they actually come to me first.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, then I know to go into it saying, like, okay, yeah, to give more of that information up front, expecting that, yeah, you may actually be, this might be your first exposure to this new information. But it's also like, I've never been into award shows all that much, so I don't really pay attention to it much. But that doesn't mean like that. It's not like it means nothing to me. I really appreciate that so many people really like that content. But it's not just like with Simmers Rewards specifically. Like I'm not saying that just to oppose them. It's just like award shows in general. I don't I never will really watch the Oscars or the Emmys or any of that stuff. I'm just like I just kind of decide my own interests. Yeah.
That is fair. That is fair. I, on the other hand, are like, it's Oscar Sunday. I will shut down every part of my life. Everyone knows you don't come bother me on Oscar Sunday. Used to have Oscar parties of being like, okay, we're having theme food, we're gonna dress up, and we're gonna guess who wins, and whoever wins gets the goodie bag. But no, I just like to. I have won 5 Simmer awards in the past 3 years, so I always see your name getting tossed around. So, and I always vote for you because you're my only person I get my news from. So,
Yeah, to be honest, I always assumed that I've never won just because I don't pay much attention to it, which is fine. I mean, it's that's totally fair. And I could see your perspective too, especially like if you're hanging out with your friends and kind of having those sorts of rewards if you guess something right. Yeah, I don't like the like I know some other people have brought up the idea of like, oh, it's making it kind of a competition when there shouldn't be and kind of pitting people against each other. And I sort of agree with that a little bit too. where I don't feel like I don't like the competition thing, even though I also do compare myself to other simmers a lot because I also try to, even though it does mentally hurt me, I also try to see like if I'm doing something right, if there's something I can improve on that they're doing that, oh, maybe this is something I should do as well. Maybe I'm missing something. So
That's fair. I will say the Simmer Awards, it's all community based. So it's you don't like you just can't go and be like, I want to be like the community votes for who's going to be nominated. The community then votes who wins. It's not Simon that decides, it's all community. So I will say that aspect of it. At the end of the day, it's just a fun award show. That
I
means
guess so.
that means that means like I still have to pay my rent, even though I have like several of these awards. It's just
yeah.
nice to have somebody nominate you because they thought you were special and
Yeah.
you get to get recognized.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen when I've been nominated. I'm like, oh boy, what happens if I win? What do I say? Because I just feel kind of awkward about those sorts of things as I've just explained. So I'd be like, okay, yes, thank you, thank you so much. Okay, I don't know. I'm trying not to sound like pretentious or anything, but yeah, it is just that since I don't pay as much attention to those things, and then I'm like nominated as something I didn't even like partake in myself. It's like, oh, okay, this just kind of came out of somewhere.
Hey,
Yeah,
to each their own. I totally got you. Now, I want to go back to your YouTube journey because you have been on YouTube for a long time. How have you seen YouTube grow and change in the last decade?
it's changed a lot for sure. And definitely like within specifically the gaming space, I going back into the let's play thing, I feel like let's plays have dropped off a lot in terms
Hmm.
of popularity. And I know some people try to say, oh, it's because the Sims 4 sucks, it's so bad, and that it disappointed a lot of people, but it's not just the Sims. I've seen that with other things, like even though I don't participate in the Sonic the Hedgehog fan base as much, I've seen it with them as well, where it's like, yeah, just like your straight up let's play videos of playing through the latest Sonic game, it doesn't do as well unless your channel happens to have 1 million subscribers already. It's just like, yeah, it's things like mods and news videos that those tend to do better. That's been more the shift.
Well, the problem is it's kids. Kids watch YouTube. Okay, kids that's like most people that watch my YouTube is kids. And I'm like, that's scary because I have 18A content. Please do not watch my video, kids. This platform is not meant for children under the age of 18.
Yeah,
Um, but everybody's obsessed with TikTok, right? So if your
yeah,
video is more than 23 seconds, good luck. Because they're just off to the next like, oh,
yeah,
this is too long. This is too long. Like I like listening to this like the younger generations talk once in a while just makes me just want to throw my head into a wood chipper of like they're like, yeah, like like I wish we had like content that was like longer that maybe like 10 minutes. I'm like, they used to have mini
yeah.
episodes of stuff. You are describing a mini episode of something. You did not create this. This is a mini episode. So I think it's just interesting because we're so on our phones. We've all gone down the real doom of just like, oh, real, real, real. And you're like, I just watched 200 reels. I could have watched an episode of something because you can't say, "Oh, I don't have time to watch an episode of insert show here, but I'll just doom scroll on my phone." And you're like, I guess I could have watched that. But because you're watching either
Yeah,
one episode or a million reels, right? So I think it's
yeah,
just interesting. And people even like still to this like if I'm learning a new board game because I'm a board game freak. Like I love board games.
yeah,
I'll pick the shortest video because I'm like I don't want to watch a 25-minute video. And I'm saying this who releases podcasts that are like 2 hours long. And I'm like, good luck to the 15 people that finish an episode. I love you. Like
yeah.
it's interesting.
I feel like I have fallen into the middle of that. Like, I
Mhm.
don't go on TikTok a whole lot, but I'm also like, okay, I can watch stuff that's like 10 minutes long or 20 minutes long, but then yeah, when I see videos like that are like an hour or two long. I'm just like, oh gosh. So actually, there was one exception I made with a Cotton Socks, one of her live streams where she just uploaded about Inzoi. I
Hmm.
watched it in fragments. She uploaded in like late August, I think, and I just finished finally watching it like 2 days ago. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'm glad I finally like, even though I didn't get to see it all at once, I'm glad I saw everything because I was able to see more of like what Inzoi really is, even though I've
Hmm.
watched other people's videos as well, but not like in a long form thing like that. Especially for a life sim, it kind of makes sense.
Yes.
So yeah, I do feel like I'm not quite on the TikTok end on it, but also not like I'm not one to watch hours long videos usually.
Yes.
At least
Right.
not at once.
Right. So it's like it's again, it's kind of like it's you gotta find the sweet spot, but then the Insta like it like the algorithm. If again, if your reel is less than 30 seconds, you're getting pushed to the bottom. If it's like 25 seconds or below, whatever. Like it's 0 to 25 seconds. You're getting pushed up 30 to seconds to a minute. Your content's too long. So like
Yeah.
I kind of wish we could go back to like the old days of social media, when you could just post an Instagram photo on Thursday going TBA, like Throwback Thursday, look at this iced coffee I drank. Woo! Instead of
Yeah.
it now like everything being fucking um sponsored or ads,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
there's I guess that's one thing going back to that question of what's changed in the past like decade or two with content creation. There's a lot more of that sponsor stuff. I mean, it is kind of fun sometimes. I mean, it's even I've been sponsored like with the Sims camp things that I've gone to in the past,
Hmm.
but there's certainly more of that. I'm glad there's some rules to disclose it, though at the same time sometimes it's also more restrictive because now I have to like anytime I use any game footage from the Sims 4 that has like stuff from codes that I've gotten for free, I have to say it and not just for like
Hmm.
opportunities of the latest pack launch. Now I have to always do it pretty much when I include my own gameplay footage, which is like to the other extreme. That's too much. But yeah, it is interesting seeing that.
Right. It's interesting. It's just a sign of change. It's the sign of the times. You know what I mean? I'm curious to see like 20 years from now what content creating will look like because it will be completely different than what we're doing now.
Yeah, and I think it is going to be interesting seeing that too because I feel like also a question that so many YouTubers get asked or content creators in general is, when do you think you're going to be done with it? When do you think is going to be it? And I think every time I've seen someone answer it is, I don't know. I just want to keep going until I'm
Hmm.
bored of it. And I honestly, for reference, yeah, for me, it's the same question and the same answer. Just totally like, I don't know when it's going to end. I'm just going
That
to keep going. I could keep going and then I'm dead the next day. I don't know.
well, I get the same question all the time. When are you finishing this podcast? Are you ever planning on finishing this podcast? And I have an answer, which I can't share with you. Anybody listening to
Oh,
this, I will know when the podcast ends. And I had the goal straight from the gate. And once I reach said goal, and it's not listeners, and it's not how many episodes, I have one goal. And then I will wrap this up and I will hang up my headphones and call it a day. But
that's
until
so interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
until then, kiddos, you got me for the next foreseeable future for a long time. So, anyways, Iron Seagull, I got a couple more questions for you. We're gonna wrap this up because I turn into a pumpkin very soon because I am very tired because I go to bed early. Thank you for doing this today, and also thank you for being on the same time zone as me. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good that worked out.
It does, especially on a weeknight, because again, I turn into a pumpkin after 8 p.m. Um, anyway, what advice could you give anybody who, really wants to, start their YouTube journey?
Well, I guess it's kind of expanding even what I said earlier to just like follow your passion and be yourself because you're the only one who's you, like other people can copy you or you can copy someone else, but you're still you at the end of the day. And like that's at the core of it, like what your most loyal people and supporters will like enjoy about you that makes you different. It's not just like, oh, I've done a universe of Let's Plays compared to people who usually just do contained series. It's also like your personality, what your opinions are, what you bring to the table, and that sort of stuff. And I think that's also actually part of what like has made my news videos so much more successful than my let's plays and anything else, because I started out in the Sims 3 era later on as a let's play channel, and then when the Sims 4 was announced a little bit after is when I started doing those news videos, and then that took off, and then I think people were seeing that. Also, I guess back then not as many people were doing news videos, so I guess also, yeah, if you can think of original stuff that nobody's done before, just especially now, very hard to think of. Good luck with that. But
Mhm.
if you can think of something that even could turn into a big hit, then go for it. Sometimes it'll work out and sometimes it won't. Like another thing I've done for a while now is these ambient ASMR videos where there's no commentary. I don't speak except for like the disclosure for the EA Creator Network, but other than that, it's just straight up sound, because The Sims 4 is surprisingly good sound design when you just like listen to that and turn off the music and all that. So it's just like whenever we get a new world, I do an ambient ASMR video of that. Those have not been too successful either, but the people who tune into those videos really love it. So
Mhm.
that's motivated to keep me going. But then, yeah, it's also like a balance. There is a balance there for sure of like doing what you like, but also what will bring in viewers. And honestly, yes, sometimes you do kind of have to do the thing that will get the most views first, then something that will bring you views. So it's like sometimes I have to like my busting out series, for example, that I've got my GameCube up and running again. I had to put that on hold for a bit. Part of that was because I went on vacation and then setting up my new computer and everything. But I probably still could have gotten back to it by now if it weren't for the fact that there's all this news coming out. So maybe it'll be back by the time this is up. It could, but yeah, honestly, as much as I even say myself to follow your passion, sometimes there is the thing where you gotta focus a little bit on stuff that will bring in people, because otherwise, if you don't, there's that threat of the subscriber number going down, and that haunts me daily, even as someone who's been doing it for over a decade.
I could not agree more. That's such amazing advice. Now, because we're both Canadian, I want to play a quick round of Would You Rather Canadian edition.
Oh, interesting.
Are you down to play this? I've come up with
Okay.
all of these questions throughout this podcast. I'm curious to see what your answers will be. Are you a Tim? Well, first we're gonna go. Are you a Tim Hortons person?
Versus like Starbucks
Nope.
or
Just
like,
do you like Tim Hortons?
yeah, I
Okay.
like Tim Hortons.
Are you can okay. Would you rather only be able to have a double double for the rest of your life or an ice cap?
Oh boy, I'm sorry, I'm not a coffee person. I'm not sure what my answer would be for that.
Okay, then a hot chocolate versus a French vanilla.
Ooh, like a French vanilla like frappuccino or milkshake, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, like Tim Hortons French vanilla. It's like a hot drink versus a hot chocolate.
Okay, yeah, the French vanilla then. Yeah.
The French vanilla. Okay. I'm hot chocolate. But okay. Would you rather only be able to have Timbits or donuts?
Oh my gosh. I mean, Timbits are like they're still donuts. It's just kind of a different thing,
It's
but
literally the donut hole. It's literally why
yeah.
they're there. But you can only either have a Timbits, a 10 pack of Timbits, or a donut. You could not have both.
You know, actually, I think I have a good answer for this one.
Okay.
Timbits, because not because of just what they are, but also the sentimental value to me. Because I don't know if this was true in your elementary school, but in mine, it was a tradition. If it was your birthday, you bring in Timbits for the whole class.
That is very true.
That's not
That,
something I would want to throw away.
no,
Even when I have kids, maybe that would be a thing I'd want my child to do. I don't know.
I've always and when I'm sick, I get 10 Timbits, 5 chocolate, 5 birthday cake. That can solve any of my life's problems. Okay. Would
Yeah.
you rather cookie or muffin?
Ooh, cookies.
Cookies, good, very good choice. Especially smile cookies.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, those are pretty good.
I'm like, can we please have another round of smile cookies? I'm
And,
in desperate need of that sweet, sweet fake sugar added to them.
and it's funny me saying that now, thinking to the fact that just a few hours ago at work, my dessert was a banana chocolate muffin. But I love cookies. I have them
Cookies?
way more. I
Cookies,
have them more often than muffins.
cookies are the best. Okay, last
Yeah,
importance question. We'll continue on to the rest of my Canadian would you rathers. Soup or chili?
soup, but you can have chili soup.
No, no, I yeah, but like chicken noodle soup from Tim Hortons or their chili.
Oh, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, the chili. I think I would
The
probably
chili.
say.
Okay,
I'm not even that much of a chicken noodle person in the first place. I love soup in general, but chicken noodle, no offense to anyone who likes chicken noodle. I mean, I'm still okay with it, but I feel like it's kind of like a more generic option compared to others. Yeah.
what is your favorite soup?
What would be my favorite soup? I don't
Yeah.
even know. Um, Probably something like, geez, I'm trying to think what the soup that I sometimes get from the grocery store. Like, there's like I think I've had like a butter chicken soup before that I really like because that's like my favorite Indian food.
Okay.
Is like I'm part Sri Lankan, so I've grown up on a lot of East Indian food.
Fair.
But yeah,
Good.
I
Very
guess
good
yes,
answer.
I'll say that one.
That is definitely a very president. I've had the President's Choice butter chicken soup. Very,
Yeah,
very good. Anybody listening to this is like they've turned this off if they're not Canadian. They have like, what is she saying? Okay,
yeah. But maybe some are probably going to be just fascinated by it, maybe
right?
because it's
Okay,
different to what they're used
okay.
to.
A coffee crisp or Ruffles chips?
Oh. Well, I mean, honestly, it should not be that hard to answer to me. I'm a chip guy all the way. I love potato chips, and sometimes I've kind of made fun of it affectionately at work for like all the chips that I bring and the different kinds that I try and all that. So yeah, I love coffee crisp too, but chips. Yeah.
What's your favorite flavor?
Ooh, I mean, I one that's been a staple for me since childhood is the spicy Doritos. They're not even really spicy, at least to me.
Hmm.
Like, I guess I have some spice tolerance, but it's still like, yeah, that one is just stuck around for me. And also the Miss Vicky's jalapeno chips.
Oh, anything. I've literally gone on and talked to Nardville about my love of Miss Vicky's. So
Oh,
the factory is about 10 minutes away from where I work. So all you can
no way.
smell it. Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, what a smell that would be.
Oh, it's great. I love potato chip when they're making the cheese chips that day because all you can smell is cheddar and it is so delicious. Okay. Okay, so Smarties or Arrow?
Oh, that's a tougher one. I think maybe Arrow.
Okay.
Smarties is not bad, but
Mar
yeah.
Arrow, that's my go-to for any s'mores I have all summer because like
Oh,
it's the best. Okay. Um, YTV or TVO?
I didn't really watch that much TVO, so why TV? And we were talking about reboot earlier,
Yeah.
so
I was like, you are a
dun 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 dun.
YTV. Okay, do you not miss much music though? I know it's a different channel, but do you miss much music?
I kind of miss like that sort of era of it, yeah. Because even
Yeah.
though I didn't watch much music, I kind of remember like these random music videos they had on YTV as well in between like their shows.
Okay, besides Reboot, what was your favorite show on YTV?
I watched a lot of the Pokemon anime.
Obs.
Yeah.
For me, it was Sailor Moon because that's how we got our Sailor Moon. But
Oh yeah,
okay,
I watched a little bit of that.
do you
Yeah.
remember the show? It was not a Canadian show, and by any means, but it was like my favorite show on YTV. They had to get monkey idols, and they did challenges to
What?
get monkey idols. And then the more monkey idols they would get would be equivalent to time to get through all of the challenges to get like these really big prizes. I can't think of the show, but
That
it was
sounds
on,
oddly familiar, but I don't
right?
know the name.
Or what about Uh-oh? Because I loved Uh-oh.
What was oh again? I just yeah, that
Uh-oh,
sounds
Uh-oh was
familiar.
like our Canadian version of Nickelodeon where they would slime contestants. Like you would spin the wheel
Oh, wait, okay. I think I
and then
saw a
like the
little bit of that
Punisher would
before.
come out and you'd like put you either like in the slime bin or
Yeah, there
like the
was that
Matilda.
and then the announcer was like, "Oh,"
Yeah,
or something like that,
oh,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Drake or The Weeknd?
Oh, I'm not really into rap music that much, but I would say The Weekend.
Very, very good choice. I've seen both of them live in Toronto, both home shows. Very good. Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds?
Oh. They're both good, but I think I would lean towards Reynolds.
Okay. Last but not least, Nickelback versus the Arkells.
The what was the second one?
The Arkells.
Oh yeah, the Arkells.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's everyone listening. That's a Canadian. Would you rather? I appreciate that.
That was really fun. I normally don't get to do stuff like that.
See? It's because we're Canadian. I can actually talk to you about things that I'm very passionate about, like Miss Vicky's chips. And you would not have the blank stare of being like, what is she talking about?
Do they even have Miss Vicky's in the States? I don't even know.
They do. Nard sent me a picture, but it's not the same.
Oh.
It's not the same.
I remember one thing I learned on like very early on in my childhood was that they don't have Kinder Surprise because there's like a choking hazard with the toys, if I remember correctly.
But now they
Yeah.
do. But now they do. They have Kinder Surprise, but it's different. So basically, like there's like a chocolate, and then you eat said chocolate, and then there's a plastic mold protecting the toy, and it's in a plastic
Right.
container. It's not like
Yeah.
our our classic yellow and orange poppy
Yeah.
containers, which
I
I
I
used
usually
to.
have to get my parents to open those for me. Those were so hard to open.
Oh, so the toys now are garbage. The
Oh
toys when we were
no.
kids are the best from the Kinder Surprise. I love the puzzles.
Oh yeah. I remember like at some point around like late 90s, early 2000s, they had like those yearly collection ones. And the one I remember
Yes.
is the Eco Bunnies. They had those like cute bunny ones. I don't know if you remember those.
Memory unlocked. I
I know
completely
you
forgot about those.
you basically unlocked that for me too. I haven't thought about those in a while.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Iron Seagull, thank you so much for coming in here and indulging me today. Where can we find your amazing work?
I'm on a variety of platforms. My main focuses are like YouTube, Iron Seagull. You can find pretty easily by searching it. Twitter, I'm on there, or X, but I hate calling it that. It's like Iron underscore Seagull. I'm actually trying to, as of lately, push my blue sky a bit more, especially after like the whole Brazil thing. I feel like I'm
Mhm.
actually getting more engagement because I'm actually kind of posting my videos on Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads on the same time. And it's like, I feel like now Blue Sky, I'm actually getting a bit more engagement on. So I think I'm actually going to try and push that more now. I've already updated like my default video descriptions to have Blue Sky and Threads before Twitter. I'm on TikTok under the same name. I honestly haven't uploaded much there recently because there's always like this question as to whether it's even going to be around because they have to like try to get a ban for whatever reason. But I am on there. I'm on Instagram as well, Iron Seagull. And I'm trying to think. There's so many social networks now; it's hard to keep up with. And it's like sometimes you just gotta like draw a line. I feel like that's what I've had to do. So I focus way more on YouTube. Oh, Twitch, of course. I don't stream on there as much, but Twitch, Iron underscore Seagull. Yep.
I love that. The links are going to be below. Please go fire. I literally said fire. Follow Iron Seagull.
Throw
Um,
fireballs at Iron Seagull.
Go
Oh!
fire. Yeah.
Me and Bimiko just over here dodging all the fireballs.
Okay, I actually have one more final question that I meant to ask you. The name Iron Seagull, please tell me it's a Canadian reference as there's goddamn seagulls everywhere here.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of the world is like that. I think. So yeah, it was interesting. That was like another thing where I took a calculated approach to it because I was like, how do I distinguish myself? Because especially the thing back then was to have your name be like something Simmer. You just have Simmer at the end, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I was just trying to think, how do I approach this? So I thought, okay, well, I like superheroes a lot. So my favorite superhero at the time was Iron Man. He's still my second favorite, but my favorite one is now the Green Arrow.
Mhm.
But I was thinking, okay, I'll combine that, and also what makes me unique, what will kind of be a name that most people won't think of to confuse with other names. So I thought, okay, I should incorporate seagulls into it somehow because ever since as a child, it's even kind of weird to myself sometimes. I've been fascinated by seagulls. I just think they're hilarious. They're really funny compared to other birds. They're kind of like they're almost childlike and silly and expressive. So yeah, I felt like okay, like not many people would have seagull in their name. I almost feel like it'd be a detractor because so many people hate seagulls. So I thought, okay, combine the two. Iron Seagull instead of Iron Man. It's like Iron Seagull. And that's kind of how that came together.
I love it. That is absolutely amazing. Very creative name. I appreciate that because again, the more creative name, y'all stand out because you're like, oh, I know this person because of by their creative name. Also, before we leave, I'm a huge Arrow girl. I loved Arrow. One of my
Yes, yes.
favorite franchises. Still to this day, I loved any crossover when they had with the Flash, Legends of
Oh, yes.
Tomorrow. That was like the pinnacle of like really good. See, DC can
Yeah,
do
that was
good
so.
stuff. It was the DC TV shows back that were so good. I loved Arrow. Arrow's still one of my favorites still to this day. Well, Iron Seagull, it has been an absolute pleasure getting to know more about you today. Please go follow him. Please go support him on all of his channels. I get to say I'm a part of the EA Creator Network as of
Yeah.
4 hours ago. As this is coming out, I've already been a month, but yay! I am so excited to be part of this creator network. Thank you for everybody who has gone with me on this journey. I can't wait to take this
Yeah,
next
welcome
step.
on in.
Woo! I'm so excited. Other than that, please continue to support my this channel by liking and downloading episodes. I super appreciate. Also, Forever and Always comes out this month. I can't believe my first ever machinima with OMG Sims is
Ooh.
coming out the end of this month. I'm so excited. I'm so nervous, very nervous. Actually, more nervous because you guys are gonna like love it, but also it's gonna be. I will
Yeah.
breathe after you guys have watched it and seen what me and OMG have been working on for the last year and a half. So
I
I'm
have
very
so much respect for machinima makers because I myself, like, I haven't really made a full on machinima, but I've done little cutscenes for my Let's Plays before. And even those can be such a pain to set up sometimes. So to do like a whole thing with even more cinematic value is just like, oh my gosh, it's so hard and so time consuming.
It is so time. OMG, OMG. If you're listening to this, baby, I love you so much and you're a fucking wizard and I love you. This movie comes out in literally less than 30 days and I'm so excited to share it with everybody. So please stay tuned for that. I'm an EA game changer. Iron Seagull's awesome. Love you all. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. Bye.
But